Psychokinesis is a natural side effect of self-mastery. Via empathy with a target, the proper mindset, and the use of one's natural subtle energy, we can achieve non-local interaction with objects, elements, people, plants, and more. If you would like to experience this phenomenon firsthand, please subscribe to this channel and join us now as Trebor Seven continues his quest to demystify psychokinesis.
Sacred Supplements is a family-owned and operated business established in 2015. We specialize in creating all-natural supplements that deliver supernatural benefits. Surpass the limits of modern medicine using the magic-like properties of monoatomic elements found in our one-of-a-kind, supercharged Ormus elixirs, Logos, Messiah, and Magi. Avoid toxic pharmaceuticals using the time-tested and medically proven healing powers of colloidal copper and colloidal silver, broad-spectrum remedies created to perfection and made with love. Enjoy the amazing detoxifying and energizing effects of Sacred Soleil, an affordable, all-natural, refillable energy drink with over 80 ionic minerals, plus electrolytes and loads of pure solar energy. Visit sacredsupplements.com today to order or to learn how to create these sacred gifts for your mind, body, and spirit. All right, I think we are live. This is June 7th, 2024, and live stream number 21, Weird World Episode 5. And we have an epic show for you tonight, primarily because of our awesome guest. We are blessed with truth seeker extraordinaire and co-producer of the Crow777 radio show, Rose777. Rose is probably best known for her work on the Poppycock Report, Bitches Brew with Karen B, the Baby Truther Show, and her channels on YouTube and Rockfin. So with no further ado, I see Rose is backstage. We're going to add you on, Rose. Hello, Rose.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening.
Believe me, the pleasure is mine. I'm so glad you're here. You look good. You sound good. So I think we're in for a good show. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. And I've been thinking so much about telekinesis because we were going to be doing this interview and just all sorts of different kinds of conspiracies to talk about. So I'm excited.
Nice.
Oh, I'm also doing great for two other even more important reasons, which we cannot forget, which is that the crepe myrtle trees in Louisiana are starting to bloom, and the neighbor's tree, which nobody can see except me and them. So I basically have a free view of their beautiful tree bursting into pink blooms, and they're always first. So I know this is the indicator that my trees are next. And so I'm so excited. And also there's about 9 squirrels that love us so much that every time we go out to the patio, they come running out and we throw peanuts. And so I'm probably going to have to start like a peanut foundation because I feel like they're going to all have babies. And then I don't know if they're going to be territorial and make some leave and then still be empty nesters, or if the group's going to grow. But it's so exciting. So just got to throw that in there because I love nature.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. I love nature too. I was watching my door of my house while I was eating dinner tonight. I was looking at my door and there's a family of coons playing in our pond. So entertaining. I mean, so much better than television. You know what I mean? What wilderness is so much better than watching anything on a screen, if you ask me. So I totally appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah. Not only do I love looking out the window, but I love looking at my cats who are looking out the window. So we made a whole catio with from ceiling to floor hurricane windows. And so it's like television for cats, but the cats are television for me. So I love it.
Sure.
It's totally.
Yeah, I turned off my TV like in 2004. Now, don't get me wrong. I still watch like documentaries and concerts and things from time to time. But sitting around staring at a screen is just not top priority for me anymore. I'm getting up there in age and every minute counts. Hey, before we dive into the deep, deep world of conspiracies, I'm going to pop over to the YouTube live stream and see if anybody's watching. Okay, yeah, we got a few watchers. Logical Spark says, hey there. Luciano R17. Trebor is the effing man. All right, thanks, dude. And whoa, I don't know about this person. Rose777 5.0 says hello. Are you familiar with this person?
Looks a little suspicious. Who could that be?
I don't. You really don't know?
No, it really is me.
Oh, that's you, 5.0. I didn't know about the 5.0.
I've been terminated 4 times. I'm on my 5th channel, and I don't even bother to promote it because it just doesn't seem like I'm allowed to say anything or do anything on there. But I'll be well behaved tonight with you.
Nice. Well, that explains why I couldn't find you on YouTube anymore. I kept looking on YouTube. I mean, I watched what you put on Rockfin, but I knew you had a YouTube channel, and I was trying to link it here, and I couldn't find it. I did find someone, well, Rose777, that's not you, and we'll avoid that one because that channel looked lame as heck. But if you haven't seen Rose's content, well, I'll let you do it. Explain kind of what you do. What are you, a truther, a helper, a humanitarian, or what exactly are you all about?
I love my favorite word to use. You said it. I feel like I am just a helper. I mean, I'm sure I can get away with using really impressive labels, but in my soul, all I want to be and all I really feel like I truly am is a helper. Another word to describe what I do is an aggregator. So, I mean, sometimes take it for what it is. I'll be talking to someone, they'll be like, you know, do you have firsthand experience or evidence to back that up? Sometimes I do, and it's really fun to talk about things. But other times I explain that, you know, over the years, I've seen people discuss this here and there, and I've been sent an article here, or I watched a video there, and it's just something interesting that's worth talking about it. And if it's not cool and if it's BS, then whoever I'm talking to, well, the onus is on them to join the fight against that horrible idea and help me understand why it's wrong. And then I promise that once I'm convinced, I will be a crusader for that. So, like I said, another more fancy label would be Crusader for Truth. So helper, aggregator, and Crusader for Truth. I do my best. And just like every other human being, I'm sure I've made mistakes and will continue to do so.
Very well done. Yeah, and I would agree with that description. And your passion to help people is part of what attracted me to you from right off the get-go. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and when I see someone's face, can hear them speak, I can tell when they're genuine and where their heart is and stuff. And I've loved you from day one. And your smile is so infectious. I mean, I don't care what kind of mood you're in. If you look at her and she smiles at you, you're going to be in a better mood. I'll guarantee it. And there's a saying that says behind every great man is a great woman. And you're just a huge help to, well, at least I know for Crow 777, didn't you index all his shows, or you did? What all do you do in regard to that? Crow 777 co-producing.
Thank you. I'm so proud of my indexing capabilities, and the way that I index is not by, making an Excel spreadsheet and bullet points. What I've done, and I know Google evil, but in Google Docs, I have copied and pasted every show, which I've transcribed by hand. Why do I do this? Because I'm insane and I just love typing. And it's my secret, useless talent that I type at up to 170 words per minute, which is like 130 words per minute more than what you would need to be a receptionist. But still, it's so funny because it's still not fast enough to kind of keep up with people as they're talking at their normal pace. So for some reason, when I'm typing out the show at about 0.64 to 0.67 speed, so just slightly below normal speed, I just retain it more. And I think it's because I'm a kinetic learner. And by typing it and listening to it and looking at the words on the screen, it's like forcing me to really pay attention. So I've memorized a lot of the information. And then when you go into when you go into Google Docs, you can use the search bar to search across every episode. So if someone contacts me and says, what episodes have you done on Rudolf Steiner? Or are there any episodes that mention reincarnation? Not only can I remember episodes that will probably be the best, but I can search and in a very short period of time come up with every episode where that word or phrase has been mentioned. So to me, I really love the work that Crow 777 and Jason, who's my partner, my boyfriend, and the co-host and the audio engineer. I'm really proud of what they're doing. And it just makes me happy to be useful and to be able to share lots of information because, like I said, I really, really enjoy the typing thing. And it makes me happy that I'm helping, but I also am doing it for me. So anyone out there, including you, if you have an audio file, a secret meeting, I'll even sign an NDA. Just let me type your audio and then I'll really, I'll be able to memorize everything that happened in the meeting.
Nice. Do you speak any other languages besides English?
Not fluently, but I could get around with Spanish and express my needs. A little bit difficult if the people I'm talking to are speaking fast. So most of the time, if they can speak English, they'll speak English back to me and I'll continue to speak Spanish and they'll kind of humor me. Same thing with Dutch. Oh my gosh. Whenever I have been to Amsterdam in the Netherlands and I try to speak Dutch, they always ask me, why do you speak Dutch? Because everybody in the Netherlands speaks English. and they want to practice their English. So I try to speak the Dutch, they speak English back to me. And then even less, I took 3 semesters of Japanese, and during that time, I was an A+ student, total teacher's pet. I was one of those adult students, I was in my 20s, and so I was like the old lady, and I was just so proud and happy to just do every homework assignment immediately and excel with my oral tests. And now I feel like I've lost most of it, but I could still say things here and there, and I could talk about the language, like the fact that the sentences are set up in a very specific structure where our equivalent of is comes at the end of the sentence. So even though people feel like they could never learn Japanese, I'm just going to tell you right now that whenever you're hearing people speak Japanese and you hear the word desu at the end, that's like there is. But here's where it gets interesting. If they want to say desune, that's like saying it is, isn't it? So I might say the equivalent of, wow, that's really funny. So instead of saying desu, I might say, that's really funny, isn't it? So desune. And then if you want to say that's really funny, and you're like assertively stating it, like saying, this isn't an opinion, I'm telling you, you would say desu yo. So desu, desune, desu yo. Desu ka is when it's a question. So there you go.
Yeah, I noticed now the tone of your voice went up at the end like a normal question would too. Very interesting. It was a selfish question because I thought if you could speak other languages, I have a few tutorials written out in English that I would love to have translated, but I don't want to put you on the spot here or anything like that. But we have a lot of stuff to go through, and what I want to do is just I'm going to name off the conspiracy theories, which many of these turn out to be conspiracy fact based on my experience. But what I want you to do is just kind of give maybe a brief synopsis of your beliefs or what your findings and what you have to back it up and anything else you'd like to add to the conversation. But I'd just like to spend like a minute or so on each topic if we can. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. It sounds like you're putting me through a baby truther test.
Sort of.
Love it. Love it.
You were on the Baby Truther show. I figured you can handle it.
Oh,
I love that show.
Oh, I miss that show so much. So you're going to be judging me for my answers, and I'm going to be judging you for your questions. And we're going to, at the end, we're not going to talk about who's the better truther. We're going to grade our Baby Truther continuation.
Sounds
and I'll
good.
give you a hint. It's going to be an A+.
Well, I have one-word questions, so my questions will be very simple and directed to the point. And my question for people watching, put your favorite conspiracy theory in there or your conspiracy theory experience or any question you might have for Rose, and we'll check on the chat here in just a few minutes. So I'm going to start with the Big Daddy, the mother of all conspiracy theories. What is your view on cosmology?
Oh my goodness, my view on cosmology. Well, this is a huge, massive debate and a very emotional topic for a lot of people. And at first, when I learned that people were questioning the shape of the Earth and like the heliocentric model, I thought that was totally crazy and a distraction from more important things to be focused on. And Jason was invited to be a speaker, even though he's not a flat earther, at the Flat Earth International Conference. And I was so embarrassed in 2019 that he was doing that I was basically hiding in the car the whole time and only went in when he was talking. But then afterwards, I wanted to do an experiment, and we ended up zooming in on the Superdome from 33.5 miles away with the camera really close to the water. And so that's across Lake Pontchartrain, which just by itself is 24 miles. So based on the 8 inches per mile squared equation, which could be used instead of the really complicated trigonometry because it goes up to 1,000 miles equivalent, even though it's a parabola equation, I shouldn't have been able to see the Superdome. Okay, so we could see too far. So I thought to myself, maybe we're looking at a bigger ball, or maybe there's just something that I don't understand. So when I looked into this, the response from the quote unquote globies is that it's something called standard refraction. But when I looked into that, it turns out that standard refraction includes a variable, which is the letter R, and R represents the radius of the Earth. And since we haven't dug down to the radius of the Earth and proven the molten core, I just don't know what's going on. But I love calling myself a flat earther to stand in solidarity with everyone who wants to say F the establishment, F the New World Order and the government, and anybody who says that that they've never done the what pokey pokey and never suffocates themselves because someone told them to. And it's just been a wonderful ride to be in a community of people that truly question things. But I know this, you wanted a one-word answer, but I just don't know, because it seems like we're in some kind of physical/metaphysical realm. And I'm also so afraid of being wrong, and I'm willing to accept whatever the truth is. But I think I answered enough. Is that, I didn't want to spend too much time. Is that cool?
Oh, dude, or chick. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah. Very good. That's more than enough. Yeah. And the fact that you knew about the parabola equation on the 8 inches per mile squared, I know you've done your homework, and I have too. It took me 2 years to come to my conclusion, and I went in kicking and screaming like a baby. I didn't want to give up my ball. I mean, I'm not. How stupid do you think I am? You think I fell for a trick? Yeah, I did. And the Jason she keeps referring to, his channel is Secrets of Saturn, and I enjoy listening to that too. You guys, you're mixed in with some really good people, and I knew you would be very well educated on a lot of these topics. Again, I have a one word, and maybe this one will be a little easier to tackle in a minute. That one only took 3, but that's all right. Gematria. What do you think about gematria? Have you looked into that?
Okay. Ideally, when one is applying gematria to an idea, I think it's the most beneficial to use one cipher. If you're going to apply multiple ciphers, it's a little bit easier to cherry pick. And then there are certain things that are really hard to socially engineer or plan, like when someone's born. So it's like, oh, when something happened like this many days from when somebody's born, my brain like just goes through a whole bunch of computations and calculations of why that wouldn't be relevant, because I don't see how it can be socially engineered. Because in my view, gematria is kind of a numerical symbolic system to kind of put the thumbprint on things that you're trying to control. That's like my view. Like, I feel like there are people in the highest levels of the what you would call like the shadow government or the ruling elite that have a hand on the social I'm sorry, on the media in terms of music, TV, movies. So in these world events that I think are faked, you'll see like gematria, thumbprints, and things like that, and different patterns. I also think that because we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's only 9 numbers and an infinite amount of situations and things that can be counted and things that can be quantified. It's really easy to have pattern recognition. So here is the key, in my opinion. When it comes to numerology and gematria, you have to be able to use your discernment to correctly balance both the pattern and the intent and the motive. Just like in a court of law, you want to kind of like identify why this would be happening in the first place, even though there's so many random things. But gematria to me, it specifically is when you're applying numbers to letters. And so words are corresponding to numbers. And then you realize that the use of the word was because of the numerical pattern and communicated idea.
Is there a Crow 777 episode about gematria? I don't recall seeing that one.
We actually just released one on Wednesday. So we released one
nice.
Covered from Gematria Effect.news. And it was kind of like more of a nostalgic idea to bring him back, because he was there in the very beginning with Crow for episode 11, 20, and the second hour of episode 28, which was about 9/11, and it goes into that's a perfect example, is that there's a lot of numerical patterns that you can see with that event.
Nice. Yeah, and there you go, pulling those numbers, those show numbers out of your head. It's amazing. I love it. Love it. All right, now we're going to take another deep dive, and this one's I haven't really looked into this one a whole lot. I think there's enough evidence. Well, I'm gonna leave my opinion out of this. The Tartaria stuff. What do you think about Tartarian history?
Okay, I really prefer not to be a party pooper. I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. I do believe that history is a lie agreed upon. I do think that we don't know how the heck or who is responsible for so many unbelievable things, like the way that different geological formations look, as well as megaliths that are obviously attributed to some kind of human. And so when it comes to the specific Tartaria narrative associated specifically with movies like what just came out, Old World Order, that are pointing out how certain buildings from the 1800s or the early 1900s couldn't have been built. I just don't accept that. And I do think that the people who were here at the time are responsible for building a lot of the things that look temporary associated with the World's Fairs. And so it's kind of a bummer because there are a lot of people that feel so passionate about it. But if anybody wants more information, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it since it's not my area of expertise, and I'm just telling you where I'm at right now on my observations, I would be happy to send anyone links to the demonstrations of the incredible technology that we actually did have, like steam technology, and the idea of building little canals to a site and then moving things down through water, and actually having like temporary mobile brick making sites. So I have compilations that have been put together by a couple of friends of mine, Woody and Ewar, of all of these photographs. But then, of course, someone can always say these photographs are fake. So it's not worth getting into a fight over. All I can do is say what I think, show the reasons I think it, and be open to hearing what people have to say about it, or else we're never going to move forward if we don't help each other.
True that. Yeah, and the old world history or the old world order documentary, I just watched it like a week or two ago, and I'm about ready to watch it again. Fascinating stuff and a great segue. If you haven't seen it, you have to. I had to watch it on like stewpeters.com or something. Do you know someplace else that's more readily available? Old world order.
I uh I watched it because Jason brought it up on his computer and like came and sat down next to me, so it was already maximized. I'm so sorry. I just don't know off the top of my head where it came from. Maybe
If
he
you
did go to
search, if you search Old World Order Hibbler Productions, it'll be like the first link, you know. And like I said, I watched it on stewpeters.com. It's free. They want you to put in an email address to access the video, but it's free to watch. Mind blowing stuff. And like I said, a great segue into this next one. What are your thoughts on giants? Were they real? Were they here? Is there any evidence to back up what you believe?
I mean, all throughout time, people have talked about giants in so many different comparative cultures, and biblically, they talk about giants. And also, we see giants today, whether you want to attribute it to regular genetics or mutated genetics. Sometimes you see people that are just simply big, and then sometimes you see people that are so big that it hurts them, and then their lives aren't as big. And so it doesn't seem like it should be. It's not something, it seems like, who knows why this is happening, but what do you mean? Because we know that giants existed because we've seen these massive bones that have been found, but is there like a conspiracy behind giants that you think that they're being hidden from
Yeah,
mainstream?
I mean, there's pretty good narrative or fairly reliable narrative that most of the bones, giant bones that were given to the Smithsonian, ended up in the bottom of the ocean. And when we watched the New World or Old World Order documentary, we saw all these ornate, beautiful buildings with giant doors, 30, 40-foot doors. Who built this thing? Who's 5 to 6 foot tall building 30-foot doors? Not humans. These are giants. I think the evidence for giants is overwhelming and far greater than any evidence for dinosaurs. Just where I'm
Mm.
at. I think there's so much evidence that you can't deny it. But yeah, also, like you said, all the historical books refer to giants, and I think they're real. That's all the time I wanted to spend on that, really. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Um,
Yeah.
since I mentioned dinosaurs, let's go ahead and dive down the dinosaur cave. What are your thoughts? Dinosaurs, real, fake? Have you ever seen a real dinosaur bone?
Well, actually, Crow and Jason, they did an episode. It was episode 55 on the no dinosaur hoax idea. And something that we can confirm with confidence is that during the late 1800s, there was something called the Bone Wars. Before this idea of the dinosaur, which basically etymologically breaks down to terrible lizard, there wasn't that much talk about it. So a lot of people were questioning, how is it, if there are so many dinosaurs over millions of years, how could they just started popping up in the late 1800s? What's going on with that? And it's further suspicious because there's so much evidence of people faking bones, and it was in order to be competitive and make money. Okay, so that's been confirmed. And also, you can look into all these different Chinese companies that are making fake bones for the museums. And I was on a debate with Alex Stein on Modern Day Debate about the no dinosaurs against a guy named Dapper Dino. And Dapper Dino told me some incredible things. And afterwards, I went onto his channel and talked to him and all of his friends. And I do now think that there was a different kind of animal that isn't like the lizards that we have today, that were big, that are not here anymore. And I was convinced based on what he said. And then a couple years later, Jason and I found some skulls that were found, and some even flat earthers that have found dinosaur skulls embedded into a rock. So Dapper Dino talked about how with a certain kind of reptiles, you could have a socket like we have, where the tooth is coming out of a socket. And then there's a different kind of animal where the tooth just literally grows out of the bone. So I think, if I remember correctly, it's the animal where the tooth grows out of the bone that you just don't find very much anymore, but you can find them embedded into these rocks. Do you want to call them a dinosaur? I don't know, but we know that we have lizards now, ancient looking sharks and alligators. But one thing that I do think is still very also suspicious is that the way that certain dinosaurs are presented to us, how do they know that they had feathers now? It's like the narrative is changing, and now they're saying that like chickens are old dinosaurs. And if you talk to like a structural engineer, some dinosaurs, it would be impossible for their like intestines to be held up by their legs because of the different weights. So make of that what you will.
I agree. I think there's a smidgen of truth to the dinosaur thing, but here's what I think. I think years ago, many years ago, I don't know how many, everything was huge. I mean, I think the trees were huge. I think there was more oxygen available. I think on a scale, people were normal size when they were 14 to 20 feet tall. I think everything was big once. That's what I think. And I think, I'm sure you saw the no forests on flat Earth or no trees on flat Earth or whatever it was called. I think there's a smidgen of truth to that as well. So yeah, I kind of stand in the camp that I think, yeah, I think there was a time when all animals were giant, huge things, but I don't think these dinosaurs they present to us are physically like the Tyrannosaurus Rex couldn't physically mate. There's problems with their made up story. And like you said, the timing in which the bones were found and who found the first bones. The guy that found the first bone, I read somewhere, I think it was in Missouri, which is where I'm from, was hired by a curator of a museum. No, that doesn't sound like a conspiracy theory to me. And why didn't all the Indians and all these other people find them before? Like you said, the modern day people after the whole concept had been sort of, I don't know. I don't know if they made it up or not, but it was just like you said, it wasn't a well-known thing. But then when they found out there was money in having dinosaur bones in your museum, voila, they started popping up everywhere. So I'm kind of on the fence about that one. And the
After
next one,
Wait, hold on. I just got to say that after everything I said, you hit the nail on the head with how did they mate? Like, just imagine two stegosauruses together. It doesn't make any sense. How do their groins line up? If someone could answer that question to me, I'll be a believer.
yeah, diagram included, please. And here's one. I think I misspelled this on our thumb. The Mandela effect. What do you think about that stuff? Well, what's going on there?
Okay, I feel like I remember. Lucy, you've got some explaining to do.
Hey, wait just a second. Explain what the Mandela effect is. Some people may not know.
Okay, so the Mandela effect is the idea that instead of people having a shared, uh, instead of everybody misremembering something, it's that our reality is fluid and possibly changing. Some people think that maybe there's like a human element to it, like CERN. And then other people like Brian Stavely, he talks about how it could be the creator trying to give people a sign. So I think that the really convincing ones, like for me, I just am like, wow, how is it that everybody remembers Lucy, you have some explaining to do, and nobody, and sorry, Ricky never, ever, ever said that in any Lucy show is so crazy to me. And why is everyone having this like altered memory in a Cuban accent? It's so funny to me. And then like another one is, what was, oh yeah, Dolly's braces. There's a movie called Moonraker, and the villain has a mouthful of metal. And in the end, there's this cute girl that walks off with him, and it's supposed to be funny because she smiles and she has braces.
I remember that.
However, she's never had braces ever in the movie. And if anybody thinks that she did, and you went and you found a VHS from when the movie came out, and you put the VHS into a VCR, you would see that she did not have braces. So it's a trip. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what's going on, but I love correcting people. So I'm a fan of tracking the Mandela effects. And then when I see someone's Mandela affected, I have to explain it to them. Like if someone says, Lucy, you have some explaining to do, I have to tell them that's never happened.
Or Luke, I am your father. Yeah, that never happened either.
Right.
I guess.
It's actually, no, I am your father.
What's the correct for build it and they will come?
If you build it, he will come.
Yeah, you know your Mandela. Okay, pass. You got flying colors on that one as usual. What are your thoughts on? Now, I don't want to go too deep on this, but astrology. Is there anything to astrology, or is that just a bunch of horse crap?
Okay, so this is the way that I think of astrology. The luminaries in the sky are part of a clock, and all of these cycles above us represent different like lengths of time. And all of these different luminaries are representing some kind of aspect of nature. So, like, for example, Jupiter, there's a lot of jovial ideas associated with that. And then Mars, there's a lot of warlike ideas with that. And there's the concept of there just being these archetypes and these natural, basic things that are occurring, like the idea of what came first, a horse or horsiness, you know? So there's all these aspects of nature, like the idea of horsiness or bullishness. And if you think of Catherine Zeta-Jones in a heist movie, and she's trying to get to the vault and she has to flip and turn in order to get by these moving lasers, it's almost like I think of the stars and the planets are affecting us like those lasers protecting the vault. And so if you know how the lasers are moving, you can Catherine Zeta-Jones around it. Or if you're a ruling elitist, you can use those energies to your benefit to get the upper hand over people in order to control them. So, or you could just go through life not knowing anything about it and use your free will to be strong in every situation that presents itself to you, and it's all good.
Nice. Yeah, I believe more in astrology ever since I discovered the Earth is flat and the lights in the sky are close. And yeah, I think they emit an energy. I think that's what you see when you look at them through a telescope or a nice zoom camera. You can see that this is a pulsating vibration. Each one has its own frequency and tune, and it's putting out different vibes that are used to keep kind of everyone, I think it affects the people who are born under that sign. I think it affects the people who are under the sign, in normal everyday life. And I think it's just a part of our existence. I don't think we could be here without it, really. Now, I want you to answer. Here's a trivia question, baby truther question. Millionaires don't use astrology. Finish the sentence.
Billionaires use astrology. JP
Flying
Morgan,
colors.
right?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on space travel? Has anyone been in outer space?
I don't think so. I think that every single example that we're told of a human being going up high into the sky has been just that. They're high into the sky, and I'm not sure that we can leave this place. Whether you want to say it's for like shape reasons or metaphysical, spiritual reasons, like we are here by choice. It's all voluntary to learn lessons, and we can't get out of here even for a little bit with some dehydrated food. That's just the way I feel about
Yeah, I would have to agree. I love the way you put it. Nobody's getting out of here, not even with dehydrated food. Yeah, and like I said, I'm a pretty good judge of character. And every time I look at one of these astronauts or someone from NASA, it seems like they're not very genuine and feeding me full of crap. And then you go watch the videos, and if you catch somebody lying and cheating once, not very wise to trust them much. And if you haven't seen all the crazy stuff, I'm wearing my international fake station. I don't know if you can see it. It says NASA
it.
lies. Got that from David Weiss's website. He's got a lot of great conspiracy t-shirts. And I noticed this when you wear NASA stuff, they're so stupid when they see NASA. They're like, yeah, NASA. I'm like, read the shirt, dipshit. No, but anyway, yeah, I agree. I think space travel is a bunch of hoopla. And I think it has to do with our existence. I don't think you can be in a physical body and go any higher than wherever the firmament is. I don't know, 66 miles or wherever that thing's at. I don't think you can actually exist up there in this form. I think maybe we do go on. Perhaps we go to the moon and we're sent to wherever, maybe we exist in different realities in different forms. But yeah, I don't think anybody in their physical skin suit is getting out of this place. Like you said, with anything. What are your thoughts on Bigfoot?
I know a lot of people that are into Bigfoot. My friend David Avocado Wolf is heavily into Bigfoot. My friend Derek Condit is into Bigfoot. My friend Clara is into Bigfoot. And then Karen B is into Bigfoot. So I can always direct people to the best of the best of the Bigfoot people, but I just don't know that much about it. And I've just never had the experience myself. But it seems like everybody who's really into the idea considers it not just a rare species that everyone just hasn't filmed, but it's actually like an interdimensional, magical, kind of even telepathic being.
I think so too. Yeah, I think there's something very weird. I have to put it. I have a very strict truth policy, so I have to put it in my maybe pile because I haven't seen one in person. But gun to head, if I had to guess, I would guess they're real. But I have to say they are not based on my experience and observations. But I'm in about the same camp you are, and I think Karen B is a very good source for that. She knows a lot about the old Bigfoot, and I believe she's seen firsthand, footprints on her own land and stuff. So if she believes it, I tend to kind of believe it as well. But like I said, I can't put it in a truth pile because I don't have evidence to back it up. What about ghosts? And by ghosts, I don't mean Casper the Friendly Ghost type thing, but people, can we exist in this realm once we leave our body? I mean, for a while or forever? Or what are your thoughts on ghosts, for lack of better
Like
terms?
the idea of something being stuck behind when they die and not able to move forward, or do you think like spirits that are doing what they're supposed to do and happy, but like just watching over people and possibly influencing them as well?
Any scenario, I would say, anything that's in a metaphysical existence that can still influence the physical. It could be angels, it could be a dead loved one, it could be anything. I mean, do you have any experience or any reason to believe in that sort of thing?
I've had some really weird experiences that I feel like you can say could be a ghost, but they're not that impressive except to me because I experienced them. But I've always joked that I wish a ghost would like punch me in the face so I would just know that it was real, like I like that my nose starts swelling up. I can say I got like a forensic analyst would say this can't be a self-inflicted wound. And it's like, oh, then who did it if she was alone? That kind of thing. That would be so cool. But no, I've never even had like a dream or any kind of like experience, but there are so many people I know that have had those experiences. And I think that, and this is something I noticed you talked about on your channel, probably detoxifying the body and decalcifying the pineal gland would be one way to increase one's chances of having one of those interactions. Although I should also say the caveat that there are a lot of people who ascribe to certain religious traditions who feel like that kind of stuff could get you into trouble. There are also people that say that doing drugs opens you up to getting into trouble too. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Yep, very true. Here's my experience with the metaphysical. I believe more so in the afterlife based on an experience that my father had. He died for 3 minutes during a colonoscopy, and I'm the youngest of 7 children, and we were all there. And like I said, he was clinically dead for, I don't know if clinically is the right word, but he had no heartbeat for 3 minutes, and he said he left his body and took on the form of a sphere. Now, this is my dad, a man of very few words. I bet he only said 200 words to me in his whole life. So he's not the kind of guy that sputters lies. Comes from a long line of preachers. Not that that means anything. He's a very honorable man. He was a mayor and he was upstanding citizen, and I believe everything he says. But anyway, he said he took on the form of a sphere, and he said it takes a little while to get your bearings. He said it's not like physical. When you're physical, you try to move towards something. But he said you don't do that. You imagine where you want to be, and then it just travels. He said, once I figured that out, I could go through walls, I could go through people. And he said, I went straight to the waiting room to see what you guys were doing. And he told each of us all this story separately, one at a time over the course of a year, never like a group session or anything, and said exactly what everyone was doing. You agreed with playing cards. Patty was reading this book. George was on the phone. All the way down the list, everything. He said, just know this, the end is not the end. He said, and don't worry about dying. We don't die. I don't know where we go or what exactly happens, but the moment you leave your body, you're somewhere else. So that's my thoughts on the afterlife. Let's pop over to the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My mom had an experience really quickly. She was in a car accident and she broke her hip and her collarbone, and she was out cold. She was totally out cold. So, I mean, I don't know if it was just like she got knocked out, but she rose up out of her body and she saw herself going into the ambulance and in the hospital. So that's what reminded me when you said that, because she was able to recount things that happened while she was unconscious. So like I said, it's so convincing. I believe my mom is not lying. She has no reason to lie, but it didn't happen to me. So I just don't know what to make of it. Like, who knows?
Yeah. It still has to remain in the maybe pile. But again, gun to head, I would say, yeah, there's definitely life after death.
Me
All right,
too.
so we're going to hit these chats here. Oh, and I keep forgetting you can show these on the voila. Look at that, Luciano. You're on a live stream. He says flat Earth is easily provable. Yeah, it's measurable. So yeah, we can actually prove that. Jump in with any comments you have if you want there. Great minds think alike says, I want to know, how did they measure the sun? Well, allegedly they measured the sun, assuming the size of Venus and its transit, I believe is what was the story. But here's the real answer. You can't measure the sun because you can't go to the sun. And the sun we see in the sky is most likely not the sun. It's like we're seeing an image of the sun that's projected from somewhere else. I think maybe outside the firmament. My thoughts on the sun. How about you? How would you answer that question, Rose? How'd they measure the sun? You're muted. Sorry
about that. I don't know how they could possibly measure the distance or size of the sun. I absolutely don't. Wasn't there like a funny clip where like someone in the mainstream said like, I hope that in 2030 a human goes to the sun, like some kind of ridiculous statement. It's like they forgot what they even think the sun is supposed to be. It's more likely that conspiracy theorists would think you'd go to the sun, right? Like as a in astral traveling, like I wonder if the halls of Amenti are in the sun. But Crow got a brand new hydrogen alpha telescope that's really big with a double stack, and he's been getting some amazing images of the sun, and it does really look like it's a physical rotating thing, but alive. Like it looks like as above, so below, like some kind of ovum, like a sperm is going to swim up to it any second. And it just seems like whatever it is suspended in something to me. Like, I don't know, just intuitively, I don't think that it looks like it's in a vacuum of space, but it does look like flames coming off of it. And so when you zoom in really close, some of it even looks like human tissue or like hormonal acne. It's just amazing what you can see in the sun. It almost reminds me of that movie A Scanner Darkly, where it showed, was that the right movie? I don't know. It's like it showed a bunch
I'm
of
not
different
familiar.
morphing of faces. So, but there's also been a second sun that we don't normally see captured with hydrogen alpha, and Crow is in the process of trying to capture it again. But what I think would be the most amazing thing is if Crow captured a lunar wave in front of the sun, because I feel like that would even further demonstrate that what's up there is some kind of matter. Like, I know I said fluid or superfluid. There's no word for it, I think. Because of what we discussed. I think it's a metaphysical dimension. I think it's like, it looks crazy to us, like we can't even conceive of it because it's a visual representation to our eyes as something that is not of this realm. Or some people might say it's part of the system for us. So maybe what I just said was BS. I don't know. I'm just speaking from the heart right now.
Okay, you just blew my mind. Where can we see this footage that Crow's got, or is it available yet?
Would you mind if I shared my screen?
That would be awesome.
Okay, because that would be the quickest way to bring it up. Isn't it funny that when you allow looking at the screen, I use this laptop for streaming because it's stronger and I don't have other programs running, but it somehow knows me on this computer and it won't let me use Google. So anyway, luckily I'm going to X, and then we'll see if it will let me go to Crow's account, and we'll bring up those pictures. Crow 777.
This is very
And
awesome. Rose 777, it's CRROW777.radio. Is that right?
that's right, crow777radio.com.
Yeah,
So let's
notice the
scroll
spelling of Crow,
down.
because there's an imitation out there with one R. We want the two R's, CRROW. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is so cool. Tell us
Now,
again. This is his recording through his new telescope, and what I'm seeing has not been altered in any way, shape, or form. This is raw footage straight from his telescope. Is that what you're telling me?
no, you're seeing a stacked photo taken
Okay.
in different settings. Are you familiar with what a stacked photo is?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for the audience, anybody who doesn't know, in a video, it's taking all of the best pictures, because this is evidence to me that it's not a vacuum of space and that it's some kind of fluid, because it's something called seeing. So some days you have good seeing, sometimes you have bad seeing, and bad seeing is when the air is just so wiggly. You know what I mean? And so it sucks. And so in order to get a good view, you take pictures at the good moments, you select those pictures, and then you stack them on top of each other. So I don't know how many images this is, but this is a bunch of images laid on top of each other. And you see how it shows the surface detail where it looks, like I said, like an egg or an orange. That's shot in one way. And then there was another way that he shot it in using the telescope that accentuated the prominences, which are these flamey looking things coming out of the edges. So it's multiple photographs overlaid. And again, he's getting this raw data and he wants it to be as crisp and detailed as possible. And the way that you do that is filming in gray, black and white. So he's ascribing the color to it as well. So I would have to say the only fake thing about the photo is the color. Aside from that, you're dealing with contrast and sharpening and things like that to accentuate the eye. Remember, this is also filmed in hydrogen alpha, so we don't even see this with our naked eye. Unlike a P1000, you're never going to see the surface detail because you're just using a blocking, you're blocking the light in order to be able to see it without hurting the camera. But there's some more examples here that I think are even more impressive. Like, look at this one. Doesn't it look like an orange?
It does. You're totally blowing my mind now, because I thought I had a somewhat of an idea what the sun was. Like I said, I thought it was a projection from some other sun. But this clearly looks like something physical.
Right. But I mean, when in Crow's view, and like I said, I wish I could say I had hours and hours and hours of experience, but I feel like that's the benefit of spending so much time looking at these things, because under different conditions, at different times of the day, with different lighting, Crow, while we're looking at these pictures, it's like, oh, oops, I guess it is something there. He's convinced it's alive, a conscious spiritual thing. So, and I've also noticed that it seems like people who start looking at the sun, you get kind of addicted to it and you want to upgrade your equipment to just see more and more and more, and you get kind of obsessed with it. So, maybe I should put like a disclaimer warning for anyone who doesn't want to hurt their wallet. But look at this one. I really like this one. And look at that prominence right there. It's so cool because these sunspots were corroborated with other people who were also looking at the sun at that same time. And the sunspots do seem to be moving, but then they go in and out. And the sun is on a cycle of, is it 11 years or 19 years? The sun and moon, one's 19, one's 11. But there's, like I said, everything's working on a cycle of time, and the sun is so much more active now than it has been. So it's perfect timing for Crow to get his scope. There's the same one without the fancy imagery. And that is mostly, I think, see, this is in the beginning. See these little streaks in the processing. He's trying to get better and better and better and better. Oh, here's another interesting sunspot. Yeah, there are people that. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I'd say I've seen the sun as best you can with a P900 and a solar filter. Yeah, nothing like that. That was mind blowing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome.
You're so welcome.
Back to the chat. I want to know. Oh, we got that one. Sorry, my bad. Where are we at? Here we go. Luciano, how has the Earth not been destroyed by millions of asteroids at the speed we are supposedly traveling through? Okay, through the universe. I think that was a rhetorical question. But here's my question about the asteroids, or comets, or whatever you want to call them. What are the odds if we're flying through infinite space and there's no particular up and down? Why does everything always hit at a 90-degree angle? Every crater is a perfect hit, even on the moon. Looks like the story just doesn't line up. And if you go look at pictures of them, the asteroid, the rock's never there, and it looks a lot like geyser. Is that the word I'm looking for? It doesn't. I don't know. I don't believe the whole asteroids. I think we're protected by a firmament, and I don't think we'll ever be destroyed by an asteroid. What are your thoughts, Rose?
Have you heard of the galvanic cell theory?
No, I can't say that I have.
Okay, so it's just a theory. I can't prove it at all, but it's just fun to think about, and I like to explain it. So it's the idea of an anode and cathode. The sun and the moon are like anodes and cathodes, where the sun is kind of drawing energy. And in this idea, the sun would actually be feminine and the moon actually masculine. And then like the idea of Mercury and the salt bridge, the salt of the earth being like the salt bridge of the battery. And so it just being like this contained battery where there's like an electrolysis process happening between the sun and the moon over time, where the sun is like constantly able to like give birth to the life force energy of the earth. And now I'm going to take that theory and run with it and say that I've always felt like maybe the moon looks like a burnt out sun, maybe. So like whatever the sun, it's done with its cycle, and it's like, there were too many monkeys jumping on the bed or sleeping on the bed, and they all rolled over and one fell out. Like the moon is the monkey that's about to fall off the bed, and then the sun is going to move over. Because the reason I thought of that is because of the idea of Saturn. There are ancient ideas that Saturn used to be our sun. So who knows if in the grand cycle of things, of the lasers of Catherine Zeta-Jones in the vault, who knows if they're all taking turns doing things, and maybe there's like a cycle of time where Mars is the sun for some reason because it's in that phase of its life.
I get it. Yeah, and I totally agree about the moon looking like maybe it's a burnout light. That kind of crossed my mind years ago when I was just observing the moon. I thought, looks like maybe this thing used to do something and it burnt out or something, and why are all the holes in it? Like, I don't know, something weird about the moon. I'm mesmerized. I'm sorry, I was talking over you. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking over you. I was saying the Swiss cheese burned in the microwave. That's what it looks
Yeah,
like.
it looks like something like that. Yeah. Great minds think alike says so many layers to this plane. Yeah, I would agree. We've only been down 8 miles. We don't know what the heck's underneath us. Oh, there's my old co-host there, Mad Cat. Glad you're with us, buddy. Although he says he's not able to hear us. He's in a restaurant. What else he say? Can't hear out loud. He said, did you guys already talk about the Bernstein Bears? Oh, as a Mandela effect? No, we haven't, but that is one of the top ones. Is it the Bernstein Bears or was it spelled differently? I remember that coming up in the Mandela effect. There's my sweet Rose. I miss that face, says Logical Spark. Yeah, she is definitely a great addition to any live stream. It's the child book series. Yeah, we're familiar, Ricky. No, we didn't mention it, but yeah, that is definitely one of the more popular Mandela effects. And let's see, I can't really say what my favorite Mandela effect is, but yeah, that's one of them for sure. Luciano says every planet star is entirely luminous and affects everyone and everything on this physical plane. Yeah, that's kind of my theory too. I can't say that with quite the confidence that you did, but yeah, I do think there's definitely something to that. Sorry, I was outside playing a card game with some people.
Oh,
How
I
dare
love
you,
that.
Logical Spark? No, sorry. Luciano, the people in the Challenger explosion are still alive. No, don't you know? Those are all doppelgangers and twins, man. They just look exactly like them, had the same name, talk like them, walk like them, quack like them, waddle like them, and fly like them, but they're not the same person. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I was at that age. I think I was a senior in high school, maybe, and they wheeled out the television and turn it on. You're going to watch it. How devastating was that when they crashed and they died? I teared up, man. I'm an empathetic person, and I felt sorry for the people on that thing. And the fact that I saw someone die in real time, I think that was a first for me. How traumatic. And then to find out later that that was all a hoax and I was part of the experiment really ticked me off. Mad Cat says, cool shirt. Are you referring to my international fake station? Yeah, I love this shirt. And I still have your telekinesis shirt. You used to sell the black one I bought you from you. You sold one of my shirt. How dare you? I'm taking your wrench away. Telekinesis is nothing but ghost power, Trebor. No, don't open up that can of worms. Luciano, ghosts, angels, demons, entities, whatever you want to call them, are obviously real. Well, not too obviously, Luciano, or we could easily pull one up. Here's my demon right here. But yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of evidence supporting it. Yeah, they're real, Ricky says. Demons are good, spirits that turned evil. Any more questions for Rose or conspiracy theory stuff? That's really crazy. I remember you told me this story. Look who is in the chat. Shut the front door. Karen B. Her ears must have been itching. We both mentioned her name.
Karen B. I love you, Karen. You're the best. Thank
Ditto
you for
here.
coming.
And this is, I believe she's referring to how did they measure the sun? Yes, it was Venus, and it's all based on assumptions, just like the radius of the Earth. Very interesting. Sun, huh? Wild idea. Sometimes I look at the sun. Oh, well, let me show this. Great minds think alike. Sometimes I look at the sun, and it seems like a hole is in the sky, and it's poking through. I'm going to insert the black hole sun. Won't you come right here on the edit? Etheric. Karen B says, I'm not sure what context that was in.
I like that comment about the sun because a lot of people do sun gaze and they do feel like they're seeing these really special kinds of concentric circles. I actually was emailed recently, a listener of Crow 777 Radio, who's one of the few that have made it up to 45 minutes sun gazing. And he really does kind of see it as a tunnel-like thing as well. So isn't that interesting that with the hydrogen alpha telescope, it looks like an orange/ovum, but then to the naked eye looking for 45 minutes, it looks like a tunnel. So here we go again. We're looking at things in different wavelengths, and there's probably a physical and a spiritual aspect to everything in existence, right? Just like the idea in the Japanese, they're called kami spirits, where you'll see like two rocks are tied together with a little scarf, and you'll be like, why are those two rocks tied together? And someone will say, well, duh, because those rocks are married. You know, it's because like everything in the world has some kind of spirit, whether it's like a nature spirit, like some people say that cats are nature spirits, but some people say that my cats don't love me because they don't have the capacity. And I disagree with that. I do think my cats love me, even if they are loving me because I give them treats, they still love me. Change my mind.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Luciano says the sun is an entire kingdom itself. I'm not sure what exactly that means, but there's definitely something about the sun that none of us know anything about. I don't know if I'm weird, but when I was a kid, I had a dream that the sun had people in it. It's weird, but that's what I dreamt. Yeah, that is weird. You're a weirdo, Mad Cat.
Maybe it's a pit
Spirits, I
stop.
think, in the sun. What'd you say?
Maybe it's a pit stop.
Yeah, so there's some mythology stating that, you know, the moon is kind of our intermediary meeting place between the spirit realm and the physical realm. You know, they go to the moon and find out where you should go from there. You know, did you learn anything? Do you still think you live on a spinning ball? Or are you an evolved monkey? Or, you know, what'd you figure out while you're down there? And if you still think you're on a spinning ball and evolved from monkeys, you're like, go again. That's what I think. Maybe, you know, I don't know.
Some
Karen B
people
says
think
different.
some people think that it matters whether you die during a waxing or a waning moon. I forgot which is which, and now everybody needs to like scramble and look it up and try to figure it out. So like, you know, it's like a spiritual person is like going into a death meditation, and if you can control when you die, that's something to consider. Some people
Well,
consider that
here's
more.
my thoughts. I'm just a guess in the dark. I would think you would want to die when the sun or when the moon is waxing. In other words, when it's growing and getting brighter. I have a feeling that's when you might be projected onward. And if you hit it while it's waning, shrinking, getting smaller, weaker, and weaker, and weaker, you might bounce off and come back to Earth. Prove me wrong.
I like it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm going to go with that.
Different wavelengths combined. Karen B, you're going to have to put some context on here, girl. We don't know what you're probably answering a question 3 minutes ago or something. I'm not sure. Do you know what that means?
I think that
Different
she was
wavelengths
referring to
combined.
the photo. Yeah, the what Crow put together. Remember, I was explaining that he put
Oh,
it
okay,
in
the
one way.
layers. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I got you.
layers.
Okay. Sorry, Karen. I'm a little slow. Mad Cat, that's not weird. I believe we can communicate with the sun. I tell you what, I think the sun communicates with us. In regards to sun gazing, I'm no pro or anything. I got up to like 11 minutes or something, and I don't do it on a regular basis, so I'm way down from 11 minutes now. But when I do it, if I do it in the mornings, it feels like it's more of a physical healing, charging type of thing. And when I do the setting sun, it feels like it's an enlightenment, upgrade, spiritual. It's different. I think the morning is a physical and the evening is a spiritual thing, just based on my experience, and I could be way off base.
So
Um,
interesting.
Great Minds Think Alike says, thank you both for your answers. Yeah, we're just spitballing here. I love this kind of show. Yeah, Mars is the next planet in the solar system. Yep. And I'm in the daytime. The moon has no light. It's just white, like the clouds. Yeah, I think it's so weird that we can see through the moon. I'm not 100% sure the moon is a sphere because it doesn't act like a sphere. And what are the odds of it being able to be facing everyone on Earth, the same face? I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. I am perplexed by the moon, I will admit.
Yes.
Let's see. Logical Spark says, I grew up with them as the Bernstein Bears. Well, see, you're in a different timeline because according to the Mandela effect, you're wrong. Now, I do believe in timelines. Here's another story I'll share with you. I've never shared this online since we're talking about woo-woo weird stuff, timelines and whatnot. So my senior year, we graduated. We're going to a party. There's 4 of us in a car. We're drinking rum and Coke. We're listening to the radio. And it was a Tuesday. How do I know that? Because on Tuesdays, they play 2 in a row. And we were listening to the radio, and they were playing Roxanne, by Sting. And it was foggy night. We're on our way to Gallatin. And for some reason, the guy that was driving got confused on what lane he was in. I mean, very foggy. And we thought the left line was the center line, but that was the shoulder line. And he saw a car coming on the wrong side of the lane, so he swerved. Long story short, we ended up about 20 yards from the highway. There's a fence, huge ravine, and a cornfield. We're plopped in this cornfield. The corn between us and the road, not destroyed. Fence between us and the road, not destroyed. No rut marks going down the side of the road. There's just like a black mark on the edge of the highway, and it disappears. And none of us remember flying, tumbling, or anything. We just remember awakening, and there's a little black spot on the sun today. You know that song? came on, and
It
we sat
sounds
in silence.
yeah.
The hair on the back of my neck is standing up right now because I remember this like it was yesterday. And we all four sat there, and that song went through about 3 lines before anybody spoke. And we're all like, what just happened? I'm like, I don't. Clarence is like, we wrecked. So I'm gonna go look at my damage in my car. No damage to the car, but we were stuck. I mean, like a rock in mud, just stuck down, buried to the bottom of the car. They literally had to cut the fence, and the guy in the wrecker scratching his head. How'd you guys get there? How did that happen? I think I switched to a different timeline that night. I think all 4 of us did. We weren't supposed to die at the age of 18. I think I've been in a different timeline ever since then. I've never told that story publicly. Thoughts,
Wow.
comments? What do you think about that story?
Absolutely incredible. You did a Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, total reset.
That
Logical
is
Spark
crazy.
says, I was playing Cards Against Humanity. It was fun. Oh, okay, from earlier. Got to go again. Love you guys. Oh, thanks for popping in, Karen. I appreciate it. I know your time is very valuable, and I appreciate you spending a little bit with us. Thank you so much.
Love you, Karen.
Logical Spark. Wow, trippy. I'll never think of the Whitesnake song, Here I Go Again. Yeah. And every time I hear that little black spot on the sun today, I thank God that I'm still alive. Logical Spark, same way. Mac Cat, LOL. What else we got? Mac, yeah, you're a weirdo. Everybody knows it. Do you practice astral projection? I'm not sure who that question was sent to. I dabbled in it. How about you, Rose?
No, I've never felt anything like that. I have a hard time sleeping at all. So I don't know if actually, well, wait, no, astral traveling is done awake, right? But my boyfriend, he used to like lay on his mom's bathroom as a child and like light a candle. And then like a couple times he accidentally felt his body leave, and he has 2 separate memories of being in 2 different places at once. And so he can very much comprehend the idea of nonlinear time, whereas for me, I've never experienced nonlinear time, so it's really hard for me to even conceive of it.
Do you think the Earth is infinite? Go ahead, Rose.
I don't know. I think that it definitely makes sense to me that there would be hidden lands that we have no idea about, that the people who are controlling humanity right now have ownership of, and they control the resources there. And that would explain why they feel like they can get away with chemtrailing and doing all of these terrible things to humanity and the environment, because there might be some other lands where they have property and where their families could go, especially once things get too far.
I agree. And the last but not least comment, Mao Magazine says, yeah, that's time skipping as far as I can tell. I think maybe it's referring to my car wreck story, perhaps. All right, back to the list. You got a little bit of time? Are you good? You need to go?
Oh, no, I'm great.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the next. I'm going to kind of skip through. There's no way I'm getting through this whole list because I've got a heart out here in about 20 minutes.
Okay.
We just talked about the sun and we talked about the moon, so that got rid of those 2 questions. Planets. What are the planets? Are they Terra or terra firma, or are they just lights, or what do you think the planets are?
Well,
Can we
on
go
a
to Mars?
physical, I have no idea. I don't get the sense that human beings can go there. And like I was saying before with astrology, I really feel like they represent different aspects of nature and different energies that are kind of foundational to existence, like the idea of being warlike, or the idea of being friendly, or the idea of like binding and time, like Saturn. So I think that they represent ideas, and some people might think of that as ancient myth that, people just made up, and other people might think that there's something to it. I think that it makes sense to me that there's something to it.
Yep, I would have to agree. There has to be something to it. Why did Jason name his channel Secrets of Saturn? That's just a question that popped into my mind.
I can't remember exactly. That he was just looking into all of this stuff and he wanted to pick a word that would be really good as a search term. So maybe he thought that Secrets of Saturn would be good for the algorithms. But he also has a band called Cult of Saturn, and his idea was that he was going to try and make music and then get people like searching for his band, and then accidentally find stuff about like the satanic death cult and try to like engineer people to learn about like the different forces that are at play.
Nice, nice. What are your thoughts on satellites? Do we have satellites in outer space, or are we looking at satelloons, or is there anything up there? Have you ever seen a satellite? What's going on with them?
I've never seen a picture of a satellite, but I've seen so much footage of a satelloon, so I'm going to go with satelloons
Yeah, I think
and
so
ground.
too. Yeah, I think it's all done, mostly done through undersea cables, but there is some satellite action going on there. But I think it's all done with balloons. I mean, NASA's the number one buyer of helium, and why do they need all that helium? Why are they releasing, what is it, 1,000 balloons a day or some crazy number of balloons? Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe in you put a satellite in outer space and it's going to lock into orbit and follow us through our corkscrewing, in never-ending traveling through infinite space. That's not going to
Yeah.
happen. I don't even like
Why
that
would
word, infinite. I can't wrap my mind around that word. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
why would they need a satellite when you could use a satelloon? It seems a lot cheaper and safer. And as long as we know that they're making so many satelloons, then what else would the satelloons be doing other than what they're made for? So I think
Exactly.
satelloons instead of satellites.
Yeah, my brother was kind of big in the AT&T industry, and he said whenever that whole thing when they were switching from fiber to satellite communications and cell towers and all this stuff, he said, in the back rooms where the cigars are smoked and the secrets are told, a lot of this stuff is just going to be pretend. We're not changing anything. You're still talking on a landline, but we found a way to get more money out of our customers because we had to pay for the satellite that doesn't even exist. So I think people in the know about satellites, and that really it's not anything to do with outer space or any of that stuff. Oh, we lost Rose. Oh, you're
No,
back
no,
just in time. What are your thoughts on aliens? Are there, and I'm not doesn't necessarily mean aliens from outer space, but is there any other physical entities that can come into our realm? Call them what you want, aliens or extraterrestrials or whatever. What do you think about that?
no, I don't think that there are extraterrestrial aliens from outer space. And if there were aliens from outer space and they had the technology to get here based on like our understanding of what they tell us, because in order for them to be aliens from outer space, you have to accept that it's space and that they could come. So if you're going to work with that model, then they would be so advanced that they would just be like probably here and look at us like bugs and kill us and then mine our resources and leave. That's the way I would look at like it. It would be an absolute disaster if there were aliens because like I said, they'd be so above us that they could squash us. So however, I want to say that I have heard and seen people talk about being like abductees. And in my heart, there's been a few of them where I feel like just like someone who says that they love Jesus Christ. Like, I believe that they believe. So, my answer to that is rather than being an alien from outer space who's going to come and be obsessed with buttholes and rectally probing, doesn't that sound like something that a demonic force would do? So, what they think is an alien, it was really a metaphysical, interdimensional, negative entity that does weird things that are like sexual and strange. That's my take on it.
Yeah, my whole aspect on aliens changed whenever it's sunk in that Antarctica is basically the shorelines of our world, and I think there are worlds beyond that. But I think maybe you need to graduate before you can go there. I think we're kind of like maybe kindergarten, and they don't want you in the high school right now because you don't know how to behave yet. You still think you're a evolved pond scum and crazy shit like that. So I think maybe when we get more enlightened, if we do reincarnate or become physical again, perhaps we get to graduate and move on to some of these realms and life keeps getting better. Whereas it's kind of heaven and hell, your choice here, where a little bit higher dimensions, maybe it's a little more blissful and less stressful. My thoughts. And
Mhm.
maybe people from outer space, I'm talking beyond the ice wall, come here to bring technology or to do things, not necessarily nefarious things, but just to do things to help us or to keep the harmony between the two worlds or something like that. So I don't rule it out, but I have to keep it in my maybe bucket because I've never seen one. I have seen a UFO though. Wait, I'm jumping ahead because UFOs is on here.
Mhm.
CERN. What do you think they're doing at CERN? Is it satanic or is it metaphysical or is it science? What are they doing at CERN?
Oh, okay. I'll give you my knee-jerk reaction, but I don't really feel like my answer is going to be based on hardcore research and factual knowledge. It's just a sense, okay? I
Okay.
think it's a jobs program slash cover for Black Ops program. So whatever they say they're doing is just a cover for other things that they're doing, but they definitely don't have any control. I don't think that they have control over things that they could possibly have control over in terms of like, you know, people are saying, oh, did you see the pictures of CERN and the clouds look demonic? Like, I don't accept any of that. I don't think that they could conjure with special technology. I think that they have the same abilities that are just within the scope of what is allowed in this realm. So, in the same way that a human being might be able to do some kind of ritualistic magic that probably has a really negative consequence and is a horrible idea, there's not like some kind of special technology that they're using. They are either going to use whatever is in the scope of natural ability for good, or they're going to use it for bad. And I just don't see it as a positive thing for good.
Yeah, that's a good synopsis. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I don't really know enough about it to make an educated opinion, but I get the feeling that they're not colliding particles. I have a feeling they're up to something, maybe the something we should know about. And again, probably just another big money trap like NASA. Um, what about the Rife machines? Is there those things work? Tell us about your thoughts on the Royal Raymond Rife.
I have one, and
Oh, you do?
I didn't notice any benefit personally on from it. Um, But Royal Raymond Rife provably created a microscope that is able to capture very, very small particles that some people would call a virus, not to trigger people, whatever you want to believe it is. I like to call, speaking of UFOs, it's an unidentified microscopic object. So, in the same way that there is bacteria, parasites, and fungus, there are other things that are on such a smaller level that maybe they are influenced electromagnetically. So, we're going back to electromagnetics and frequencies. Rife was able to um, put a frequency into the environment that is matched up with the kind of tissue or virus or whatever it is that's moving around under the special kind of scope. And there are videos online that anybody could look up right now that's showing these organisms or whatever you want to call them, genetic DNA particles, cell trash explode. Cancer cells explode. So the idea and the main takeaway from that is that if you can identify the frequency of a pathogen or whatever you want to call it, you can explode it, and that would help the cleanup process. Because a lot of people say like, oh, you want to get rid of your bacteria if you have overgrowth and it's causing an infection of the body, but you don't want to completely kill it, right? Because everything is part of the microbiome. They've been lying about all of these kinds of microscopic objects. So they're lying about the things above our heads and they're lying about the things in our bodies. Can I just mention one really random thought that I had about the microbiome and bacteria? I thought to
Absolutely.
myself, like, when you think about like calamities and things that happen on earth, like with the weather and like so many people die, and you're just like, why does this happen? Like, what is this place where there's like this random machine, and every now and then you could just like a town could be taken out by a tsunami? I'm thinking about how the human body is actually made up of more bacteria than actual human cells. So we are less of us and more of them. And so, like, if we're going to throw antibiotics at it, it's basically a cataclysm to them, you know, and they're like, oh my gosh, our whole entire universe is dying. Like the whole idea of Horton Hears a Who, like on the small scale, it's a cataclysm, but they don't understand that they caused it by not respecting their environment, because they want to grow and they want to exist, but they were killing me, the host, in the process. So if only we could understand what our actions are doing on a larger scale, maybe we could use our free will to control the weather. I don't know. I'm not saying like I'm saying as an example, control the weather, but like control the environment or have more control over our fate as a community species of bacteria on Earth.
Nice. Yeah, that was a good stream there. Thanks for sharing that. What
Okay.
about the John Hutchison effect, where he was messing with opposing electrical fields and new energy fields and levitating stuff? If you guys haven't seen that, just put that into your search engine. You got to watch these videos. What do you think was going on there? Was that electromagnetic manipulation or electrical field? What was he doing?
I don't know. You got me on that one. I think I'm new to that. If I did hear about it, I forgot. So I will have to look
Oh
into
yeah,
that one.
nice. I stumped the Rose 777. That's awesome. John
Yeah.
Hutchison effect. She knows nothing about it. I'm way more into tune than she knows. I'm kidding.
Oh yeah,
You'll
you
look
got
into it. It's fascinating. It's fascinating, and I think it would be a great Crow 777 deep dive if you guys ever wanted to do that. All right, I'm going to
all
do
right.
two more, and then we're gonna check out the chat, and then we're gonna have to call this a show. This has been great, though. I love talking to you, Rose. Thank you again for being here. It's
Thanks,
really
dude.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
What is your thought on reincarnation? Have you seen enough evidence to believe that people are reincarnated? We kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm just curious, gun to head, would you say reincarnation is real or not?
Yes, but not mandatory. Like you could at the end, if you know what you're doing, maybe you can avoid it and move on somewhere else. But for the most part, I think that like we keep coming back until we've learned all of our lessons. And the reason for that is because I've heard of so many children talking about things they couldn't possibly know about, and even a crazy story about a little boy that was born and then like he's on this search for this woman, and then he finds this elderly woman, and they like are obsessed with each other and convinced that he's her dead husband. And then when he turned 18, he like moved in with her until she died. And it's just like,
Oh wow.
whoa. And like she handed him like a guitar and he was like playing their song. He's just a kid. So it's just, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't think that was just your average everyday, like cougar dating a young guy. The kid knew
Mhm.
she existed before they met. So, and they were like, boop, in love. So
That is
weird.
wild. Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I've seen a lot of them, like 5 and 6 year old kids that know way too much about World War II planes and things like that. But I haven't heard that story. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
What?
or at one point there was Crow was with his nephew, and they were at this like little ship that was transformed into a hotel, and they were in the hotel room, and he was like, "Oh, I've been here before." And he's like, "No, you haven't." And he's like, "Yeah, I was. I was here with my other mommy." "What do you mean your other mommy?" "My mommy from before this."
Wow, trippy, trippy. Here's a little ghost story for you. You just reminded me of that. I ran a bar
Okay.
for a little while in 2002, and it's a really old bar. It's called the Friendly Tavern, and it was built like in 1917 or something. I mean, a long time ago. Ancient. It's a very old, one of the older buildings in Chillicothe. Anyway, long story short, I ended up running this bar. I don't drink, by the way, which is probably why I ended up getting the job. I used to DJ there every weekend. Long story short, I ended up managing the bar for a year. So I had to go in the mornings, empty the pool tables, do the normal opening procedures. And I took my daughter with me one day, and we opened up the door. It's empty, it's been locked all night. I opened the door, and we walked in, and she said, "Who was that lady?" I said, "What lady? There's somebody in here?" She said, "Yeah, the lady that went in the bathroom with the fancy hat and the feather coming out and the tall boots." And she's describing what the people wore back in, 1917. They wore all the fancy feathers and hats and stuff. And the door was still swinging a little bit. I'm like, "Oh my gosh," the chills and everything. I'm like, "You wait here." And I went, and of course, he opened the door. There's nothing there or whatever. But they say, before we're brainwashed, we're able to see some of these spirits. And that was the closest thing I can say to me seeing a ghost. I didn't see it, but my daughter's like 4 or 5, she's not making stuff up, and it was a genuine question. I could tell, "Who is that lady?" So, I don't know, maybe there's something to it, but, all right, here my last question, and we're gonna hit the chat real quick and make sure we got everybody covered there too. What are your thoughts on psychic abilities? Are they real? Is it something anyone can do, or only people that are born with psychic abilities can do it? Do you have any experience with psychic abilities?
Well, psychic abilities, lately I've been kind of feeling like I've been more tuned in and having these really synchronous moments where I'll think about someone and they will literally text me right at that moment. I know people always use that example, but it's just been happening more often for me, to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is like addictive. I want it to happen more. So I've been like using my mental energy to like send messages to people. And every now and then I'll just be like, hey, I tried to send you a telepathic message. Did you happen to receive it? And they're like, nope. I'm like, darn it. Other times it's like, hey, I was thinking of two horses running on a beach. Did you think that too at like 5 p.m.? Nope. So although I don't have the experience, for some reason I've been touched with the desire to try, because I really have an overwhelming amount of extra mental energy. And so it's kind of fun to kind of just like focus on something and an experiment. Like, you don't really know for sure if your prayers are working, but you'll know if your telepathy worked.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Perhaps it's because you've been dabbling around on my channel. Maybe I've intrigued your interest in psychic abilities. But I think ESP cards, you know, the where you flip them and they have a symbol or whatever. Get you a deck of those, start messing with them. The less you try, the less you think, the more they pop into your head. That was one thing that kind of, that's a great tool, and I should probably do some more of those videos. And there's some online on my channel. There's some online tests you can do and stuff. It's so weird because when it starts happening, you're like, how does this work? And the moment you start getting into psychic abilities, if you address the, you know, detoxification and some other things that kind of help promote this type of thing, you'd be amazed. I think everyone is a psychic if they just pursue it a little bit. All right, back to the chat. Lucian says Elon Musk sending the car into space was the biggest joke. Yeah, I can't believe anybody believed that. I mean, the footage was horrid, horrid. And why would they do it? And if it was real, wouldn't it have made like the cover of Time magazine or something? You know, you don't ever hear about it. You don't. No, that whole thing was a joke. And if you believe Elon Musk sent a car into outer space, you need to watch some more channels like Crow 777 and Rose 777 and Real Truth Seekers. We'll help you figure that stuff out, because that's not real. It's cool. Oh, that was okay. I'm gonna try to avoid these conversations here. Go ahead. Yes.
I just want to plug the episode of that we did about the car, and I tried to look it up on the computer, but like I said, I'm logged out of Google. They don't like me, but apparently my other computer, I'm allowed to use Google services. But was it 85? Let me look this up. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. I see a bad moon rising. Was that it? No, I think that was. Let me just look it up as what is the name of the car? Tesla car. That's
Yep,
going to
Tesla.
bring it up real fast.
Elon or Tesla, those keywords ought to bring it up. Yeah. I don't remember your episode on that. I remember Jaron breaking it down pretty good and a few other people, but I don't remember seeing the Crow. And I think I saw the first hour of every Crow episode available. I think maybe I missed that one.
I think it was.
Right.
I think it was 95.
95. Oh, that's an oldie. Yeah, I probably don't remember those. I watched a lot of the earlier ones, or I listened more than watched usually. Luciano says, I think there must be advanced beings beyond the lands we know, but they definitely didn't come from outer space. Yeah, that kind of depends on your definition of outer space. I mean, if that's beyond the ice wall is the outer space, that could be legit. I wonder if oops, sorry. Okay, I keep forgetting I can show these. Did I show it? Oh, I did show it. Sorry. I wonder if the aliens are the spirits that were called nymphs and dryads. I hope I pronounced that right. In the mythological times, and elves and goblins, and yeah, I don't know about all that stuff either. But now we just call them aliens. They said, yeah, or they could be demons or something. You know, I don't know. This is so cool that we're diving into this, though. That's basically what I think too. Says that guy. If everything's inverted, then the aliens aren't from far away, but they are like garden gnomes and household spirits. They might be very close to us at all times. Yeah, I've kind of felt the presence of a guardian angel. Here's my guardian angel story. So one night I'm driving home. This was back when I was a Sunday school teacher, and I used to teach an evening class. And it was about dusk. I couldn't see very well, and I was coming over the top of a hill. But before I crested the hill, I felt a tug on my seatbelt, like snugging it up for me. And as soon as I crest the hill, there's 3 deer standing. And I'm like, I had to slam on the brakes, you know. And thank God I had my seatbelt on. It would have been trouble. But I feel like someone was giving me a heads up on that one. They probably hide everywhere, but can't physically see them because they are probably etheric entities. Yeah. Okay, we're going to take off. Later, Mad Cat. We'll see you next month. I hope you'll be back on the show. I think we're going to talk about levitation a little bit next month. Have you heard of the nukes being a myth? Oh, nukes. Oh, Rose can tell you that episode off the top of your head. I guarantee you. I think it's like 51 or something. Well, I don't know. What episode was the nukes?
All right, we have an entire nuke playlist. So it's episode 53, 400, 507, and 570. And I have all of the links here in a little link tree. So let me get that for you. And I'll put it in the private chat. Free. And this is the first
private. Okay, I'll jump over to the private and put it into the public chat on YouTube. While you're doing that, I like the old show Sliders. It made you think. I'm not familiar with that. I didn't watch a lot of TV. If it's after 2004, I probably don't know much about it.
2013, I quit.
Is that when you quit watching TV?
2013. So I can't believe it. I had so much fun when it was finally like 10 years. I'm like, I haven't watched TV for 10 years, but I am watching a screen though on my computer. So I can't be too much of a hypocrite, but I stopped cable television in 2013.
Nice. Yeah. 2004 for me, but I did it for other reasons other than enlightenment. I get so many synchronicities. I tried to use them to trigger when it was time to buy a lottery ticket, but the synchronicity ran away like I was playing with a good spirit who didn't want to play along. I think there's kind of a fail safe on psychic abilities. I don't think they're supposed to be used to manipulate other people or to harm other people. But I think if you're using it for good and pursuing it for the act of increasing your psychic abilities, I think it's almost limitless, And here's the last one I'm going to read tonight. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. You made this show much better than it was going to be. One last question. If I can fit in, do you think there is water above the firmament? Rose, is there water above and water below? What's above the firmament?
I don't know, but it seems like it's not a vacuum and that it would be some kind of other fluid, superfluid, plasma, water. I don't know. It's something, and it looks.
Sorry, I cut you off there. Yeah, I think we move into different realms, and I think, of course, the atmosphere is going to be different, and we're going to be in different forms if and when we move on from this realm. Well, this has been fascinating and fun, and if you're up for it, I'd love to have you back maybe in a few months or something. Maybe we'll take a deep dive into a subject or something that you would like to explore in depth. But this has been great, and you passed the baby truther test with flying colors for sure, which means you need to bring the Baby Truther show back. I'm telling you right now, you bring it back, it'll be one of the most popular things on the internet. I loved it. And Jaron and Dave and you, and we probably can't get Alex back again, but those were good times, man. And I really enjoyed that.
Good times.
Wasn't it fun? Good times.
Oh, I love it. It reminds me of this quote from the Hagakure, but I don't have it memorized. But it's kind of like you wish that you can bring back the past sometimes, but the spirit of an age will move on, and we can't always bring back the past. But it is good to kind of just make the most of it when those times are here.
For sure, for sure. Well, this has been a great show, and I want to thank you again. And I put links to her stuff in the channel. Oh, I was going to do that. Let me pop over to the private chat, grab that link you shared. I don't want to waste your time, and people might want to check that out. So yeah, if you're afraid of nukes, you still believe in nukes, you need to check out this string of videos right here that I just put into the chat.
And episode 507 specifically is with the daughter of two survivors. Her mother and grandmother were in Nagasaki. And some of the things that they talked about in that episode then contributed to corroborate what was said by Michael Palmer, the author of Hiroshima Revisited, for episode 570. So it's really great to go through the whole series from 53 to 400 to 507 to 570. And in the end, it's with Michael Palmer, who's a scientific guy, German, who can basically confirm that it's more likely that it was something having to do with mustard gas causing the injuries that were attributed to whatever happened that day, which I don't think were nukes, but more like chemical warfare and weather modification and firebombing.
And some of the video footage of them putting pallets of dynamite at these places where the bombs were supposed to be landing. Yeah, the whole thing doesn't add up. But anyway, you can dive into that and come to your own conclusion. And I want to thank everybody for being here, and especially you, Rose. I appreciate your time. Say hi to Jason if he's available. I appreciate him too. And Rose, or Crow, if you get a chance. say, hey, Trebor, you know, says hi. And in the meantime, take good care of your body, follow your spirit, and